Hello, I'm back with another reaction video, and this time I'm going to be reacting to 4 very creepy night drive horror stories. So, yeah. And this is by Unit 522. Check out his channel, subscribe to him, and let's go on the video.
Have you ever gotten the urge to get in your car and go for a cruise at night? Well, I used to love driving at night, especially when I don't have to go anywhere specific. It's therapeutic for me, at least it used to be. A week or two before I graduated, I went to one of my friend's graduation parties. I left at around 10. I live 30 miles outside of town, and roughly 20 miles of that is dirt roads. I had just turned onto one of those roads. The window was down and the radio was playing softly. It was relaxing. I wasn't going that fast, maybe about 45 miles per hour, just cruising. But up ahead, I saw something moving. Suddenly, it crossed the road in front of me, and I swerved to miss it. I used to drive a 2002 Jeep Wrangler. My dad got it for me as an early graduation gift. We fixed it up and got it into drivable condition together. Wranglers are naturally very top-heavy, and this one was even more so, as it had a 4-inch lift kit. I swerved too hard and rolled into a ditch. I smashed my forehead into the windshield and blacked out. I woke up with a start. I was upside down. I was bleeding pretty badly from a gash in my forehead. I couldn't remember what happened. It took me a moment to realize that I had been woken up by something. Something was lurking around the Jeep, sniffing and shuffling around like a dog. Then a putrid, decaying smell invaded my nostrils. It was strong enough to make me gag. In a flash, I remembered the pale, naked, thin figure walking in the road in front of me, its horribly long, dangly arms, its tall, thin head, and those small, beady eyes that glowed in my headlights. It wasn't human. I kept a K-bar knife that I bought with birthday money in the Jeep for emergency reasons. The middle console had spilled out in the wreck, so I searched around and found the knife on the roof. Remember, the Jeep was upside down. I grabbed it and cut my seatbelt. I fell onto the roof of the Jeep with a thud. There was an excruciating pain in my left arm. I couldn't move it. I pushed through the pain and sat up. I could hear the shuffling outside grow quicker and more frantic. It must have heard me. Suddenly I could see 2 feet outside the driver's side window. They were, like the rest of the creature, disproportionately long and thin, ending in 4 toes. There was dried blood crusted on them. It scratched on the door, and I knew that it was trying to get in. Frantically, I plunged my hand out the open window and stabbed the creature in the foot. It then let out an ear-piercing shriek and ran off into the night. I then crawled out of the window, and I tried to stand up too quickly and passed out. I woke up in the hospital the next day. My dad had gotten worried about me 20 minutes after I should have been home and went out to look for me. He found me passed out next to my overturned Jeep. I had lost a lot of blood and was suffering from head trauma. Out of fear of being called crazy or not being taken seriously, I told everyone I fell asleep at the wheel. It still didn't explain the scratches on the driver's side door of the Jeep. Scratches that looked like they had been made by a man. For the next few months, there would be strange talk around town. Ranchers in the area would report dead cattle, with their entrails strewn about everywhere. People in cafes would tell stories about seeing strange lights, hearing strange noises, and spotting strange eyes in the night. In time, it seemed everyone had seen the elusive Thin Man of Tandem, New Mexico. But all the talk and reports of such a creature stopped after a few months. The creature and the strange lights disappeared.
Alright, myself. My conspiracy for story number 1, aliens. I think it was aliens that he saw, or an alien. And if you believe in aliens, let me know in the comment section below. Hold on.
About once a month, I visit my parents for the weekend, who live about 4 hours away from me. It's a quiet, peaceful drive through remote back roads. Last night, the drive back was like many others, except this time I left later than usual. It was dark for the majority of the drive, and I didn't return home until almost midnight. That being said, it was a nice drive, although I could see the lightning flashing in the distance from a far-off storm that seemed to be following me. About 2 hours in, on the most remote section, I thought I saw something in the distance. I've always been afraid of hitting a deer or a moose, so I tend to slow down at the slightest sign of life. As I approached, I was shocked to see what appeared to be a person lying on the side of the road. I immediately stopped my car and ran out to see if they were okay. As I drew close, I could clearly see it was a girl who appeared to be in her 20s, with dark black hair and torn clothing. "Are you okay?" I asked. There was no answer or any movements. I quickly crouched down and put my fingers to her neck, trying to check for any signs of vitals. There was nothing. I grabbed her wrists, trying to feel for a pulse, and I was shocked at how cold her skin felt. With a sinking feeling, I knew it was too late. Her face was turned away at an odd angle, so I gently reached out and turned it towards me, and I knew for sure that she was gone as soon as I saw her eyes. They stared back at me unblinking. I reached for my phone, ready to dial 911. I briefly hesitated. Do I still call 911 if the person is already dead? Or do I call the local police number instead? Technically, it's not an emergency anymore. Shaking my head, I dialed 911. "Police, fire, or ambulance?" a reassuring voice said on the other end. Police or ambulance? I'm not sure." "Sir, what's the nature of your emergency?" the operator inquired. "Well, I was out driving and there was this girl on the side of the road, but I think she's already dead. She has no pulse, her skin is cold, and she's unresponsive." I spoke quickly, almost stumbling over my words, as I was understandably a little unnerved. I quickly gave the operator my location. "Okay, the police and ambulance are on their way. Are there any signs of injury on her?" the operator asked. "No, she's only muddy, and her clothes are torn," I replied. I was taken aback, as I hadn't realized until just that moment how strange it was that this girl would be dead out here in the middle of nowhere with no signs of injury. I looked around the darkness and I began to feel nervous. I decided to wait in my car. The police showed up fairly quickly, and the officers asked me a few short questions before I was allowed to leave. As I continued driving, I tried to shake off the events of that night. But as I was driving, with no means to distract myself, I understandably found it hard to forget. I finally arrived home, ready to go straight to bed. A little embarrassed, I left the hallway light on outside my door. It may seem silly, but that was my first experience ever seeing a dead body, and I was feeling a bit creeped out. Normally my roommates would help me feel secure, but they both were gone at that time, and the apartment felt strange and empty without them. I fell asleep fairly quickly, but suddenly I woke up around 2:30 a.m. It took me a second to realize why everything felt off. The hallway light, which I had purposely left on, was now off. As I realized this, I felt a chill take over my body as I lay in the darkness, waiting for my eyes to adjust. Slowly, I began to see shapes. I reassured myself that it was all okay. I saw my desk take shape, and my dresser. My yoga mat, which was rolled into a ball on the floor, gave me a fright, until I realized what it was. However, I slowly came to realize that there was one shape that I couldn't place. In the middle of the room was a dark, contorted shape, taking up the center of the floor. I racked my brain as my body froze with fear, and my heart pounded, trying to think what it was I could have left there. It was only when I saw two glimmers that I realized. It was exactly the shape of the girl I found, curled up in the same position she was left in on the side of the road, and the glimmers were exactly where her eyes would have been.
Oh my.
A friend of mine told me this story about a girl she met from Sweden who was staying with her for a while. The girl was in her mid-20s, and
So yeah, that is going to be part 1. If you liked the video, please subscribe. If you liked the video, please subscribe. And let me know what you want to see in my videos. So yeah, subscribe. Click the like button. Comment in the comment section below. And thank you for watching. Oh, and subscribe to Unit 522. Thank you for watching. And all the credits of this video goes to Unit 522. Thank you for watching.